Hey Joe, how are you?
Hey, Dimitri, good. How are you?
Doing well. Long time no see.
Yes, yes.
How are you, man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well, thank you. We are running closer to Easter. It's time for break, and I'm really
Yes.
looking forward.
Yes, yes. I think you have your Easter is next weekend, right? I think.
Yeah, that's right. Next
Yes,
weekend.
yes. We have ours this Easter. This Sunday, sorry.
Great. Joey, may I ask you, how is your progress working with AI agents so far
It's
at
going
your
okay.
experience?
I'd like to explore doing more like stand up builds of agents that can kind of live on their own, and whether it be cloud based or even on a separate piece of hardware. But currently I'm doing everything like within, the single like terminal that I'm using constantly and just kind of using it that way. And so it's a lot more like command centric stuff that's invoking agents, I think, right now. And I'd like to see taking that a little bit more out of that context to making it more of an agent that can invoke commands, maybe the other way around, something like that, where it's able to take a little bit more of the human burden that you usually see with like deciding what tool should be invoked for what instead of orchestrating it myself, seeing the agent do a little bit more of the orchestration in some cases.
Mm-hmm. Jill, I'm curious. Do you build agents with sub-agents for tiny workflows or sub-processes? How do you split the workflows for the main SOP?
Yeah, usually, so it's a good question. I have seen, in terms of what I'm doing in practice, is I do not think looping in sub agents or building out sub agents. I have, however, seen agents that I've set up s- refer to other agents as sub agents, which I think is probably just, how it's referring to
Mm.
other parts of itself. But as far as like the actual design from my end in terms of the like say agent team that's being built, I don't think I've really got into that realm yet. Um, right now, it's usually a case where just to speak to the relay and the overall like the SOP there. Um, typically, what will happen is if you could think of like a typical development workflow where like request ticket comes in, you have a say it's a support request. A customer says this is happening when I do this. I'm expecting this other thing to happen. Uh, that request will like go into our system, and then I can, if I open up the project, I
Mm.
can then pull that ticket from the API that we have set up. There's a command. So I will run essentially just like /manage and then put the ticket number at the end from the API. It will pull the details on the ticket, including any file attachments. If there's a database that, like a production database backup associated with the ticket, that it can then like import locally so it can read the live data, and if it's a data problem also be able to speak to that. But essentially what that command is doing is just pulling that data, ensuring the project is up to date with what's currently living on the remote, and then it starts going through a investigation process where it'll look at the issue as reported by the user, the customer, whatever you want to refer to them as, who submitted that ticket. And then it will take a look at the error log on the application to determine if there's something that can speak to that from that time frame of reporting. If not, it'll continue through, or if not, it'll continue through its investigation until it finds a potential cause of what the user was experiencing. And then that agent is where that command invokes a support agent who is able to go through and do that investigation. And that is like using a specific model of Claude. And then from that point, if there's questions that it has, it can go and have like a conversational pattern with me to go through, say, if it needs additional information, if it wants me to check on a piece of data that's live on the database, it will tell me how to go about that process. Then I give it whatever information back, answer any questions, and then it puts together like an investigation report speaking to what happened, and then it'll put together a recommendation in terms of what should be done to fix. And then you can then invoke another command, which will then work that ticket and actually do the support request and then release the support update. So there's a few agents involved with that process. And that's a relatively short one because it's a support request rather than a request for a new product build, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I smiled when you said that you give it access into log file, so you can track the performance, the work, whether it works from looking the logs. Because in the way I'm building stuff, what I found is that if I don't have access immediately on the logs of the service, AI gets so confused saying, "Yeah, everything is working now. No worries. Everything is fine. Guarantees." You know. But finally, many things don't work. So I think that in my process in building with AI is the must-have step. Give it access to logs.
Yes, definitely. And I think a lot of those commands and those agents have been made aware through like my setup that they know from the get-go that they're always working on like a local environment that is detached from whatever the live state is. So it's well aware of that, but it does get confused at times. We're back initially when that build was going on, it was getting confused in the sense of it would look exactly as you described, look at the system, say everything checks out, and then give it the thumbs up. But then as soon as you would pass in, if you would make a copy, say, of the live data and pull that in, it would have a completely different experience, right?
Totally.
So that's kind of what led me down that path of having to inform it every time it's invoked. This is being done locally. There is no access to the live data currently. If you will need live data for this, please mention that you will need live data, so on and so forth.
Hmm. Welcome, David.
Hey, Dimitri. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I did.
We're talking here with Joe about the using of AI agents in order to build stuff for us. So far, Joe explained me his process and his approach in guiding the agent to do the stuff. And I think here is a question that may is also valuable for the way we are working, David. And a nice thing to discuss is about how do you give knowledge and principles, guidelines to this agent to go and build for you, making the right decisions. Joe, can we start with you?
Yes, could you ask that question one more time?
Yeah, I am asking, how do you guide the agent about how it has to make decisions while he's working?
Yeah,
Uh,
so that's
how do you give the knowledge of doing stuff?
I've found a lot of I have found a lot more success with like setting up guardrails around what I don't want it to do. Because as I was describing that like
Okay.
support process, let's say, um, the support agent's supposed to be the one investigating, finding a reason, being able to describe that reason in a non-technical way of why there is an issue. That way that can be reported back to the client and they can be, kept in loop on what the issue is. And then also that agent is responsible for coming up with a recommendation for fixing the issue and a rollback plan for if we implement a fix and it doesn't work, what a test procedure should look like for when the when the bug is fixed. So with that, I've found a lot more success around telling it not to do things. Like it is not your job to fix the problem. Do not fix the problem. It is not your job to commit the bug fix. Do not commit the bug fix. Whatever information you find should be segmented into markdown files based on ABC category, and then those should be fed back to an API. Um, that way, it doesn't start going kind of off the rails there. There's another agent that we use, which again is invoked by a command to commit the project. And essentially what that does is any kind of changes that are made locally and need to be put onto a server, it will commit that work to a GitHub repository, trigger the deployment on a remote staging environment. That allows us to then loop the client in and say, here's the fix. Do you approve, or, is there additional adjustments we need to make here? And then if approved, can just get swept over into the main branch and released, and then, part of our infrastructure of zero downtime deployment. So on the side of the commit one, that release agent, initially we had issues where it would decide on its own to release to main. So there was an instance where we had it releasing something to production before we had fully had approval of it. And we had to establish the guardrail there. Again, it was very much more of a do never commit directly to main, only commit to this branch, and directing it in that type of language rather than just kind of leaving it open-ended. I found that and this is something a little bit more recently I found, leaving things open to interpretation for the agent seemed to lead us into a path where we have unexpected consequences. Like, for instance, that commit one was a good example where it was not told to only commit here. It was just, since it's told in the beginning of the process to ensure you're on the developed branch, we assumed it would remain there, but it didn't. It decided on its own to switch over and commit things to different branches. So we had to direct it in that way to say, not just in the beginning of the process, make sure you're on develop, make sure you've pulled all updates. We also tell it, make sure you're only committing to develop, make sure you're only pushing to develop, do never touch another branch. And go about it that way. And that seemed to, that solved that problem, but I'm sure we'll come across other ones that we'll need to have some better direction on as well.
It makes sense. Before we move to David for the same question, let's bring also into the company Nicole. Nicole, we're talking about how we're using AI agents to build stuff for us. So, can I ask you first, are you familiar with AI agents? So, because it's something we are we see that as a term around of us, close to the AI stuff.
Why am I?
Oh, sorry.
Do you hear me
We
twice?
can hear you and we can see you.
Okay, that's better.
Great.
One of your microphones is off, though. I don't know what's going on there, but
Yeah, because I'm hearing feedback. I'm not sure what's going on.
Dimitri, you may have to disengage one of,
I think Nicole is using two connections.
Okay, how's that now?
That's good. We just have two Nicoles in the room, which is
I can't
fine.
hear you. I'm gonna log out and log back in because there's a lot of feedback, and I'll answer any questions.
I
Okay.
think now it stopped, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it stopped. I think I have to, but never mind. Let's keep it. So,
That's good.
let's continue the conversation. Nicole, we were talking about AI agents, and Joe was explaining us how he used AI agent to build stuff for him. He's a software developer, so he mostly used AI agents to build stuff for his work. And the question was, how does he give knowledge and principles guidelines to that agent to be applied while he's building stuff for Joe? And before we move to David, because I'm really curious for all of you guys, what's your thoughts about that thing? I would love to ask you first, Nicole, are you familiar with the term of AI agents, how these tools are working on, how you can build, and if you ever had the experience on building ones?
So, yes, I am familiar. That's number one. I have been doing, since our last meeting, I've been doing a lot of research I'm still hearing myself twice. Hold on a second. It's unfortunately very annoying. Okay, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can hear me?
Yeah. We hear
No?
you.
There's
Yes?
no echo on this
Because I
end.
can't hear me.
Yep. We can hear you.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
No, that's not any better. I don't know. How do I fix this? Because it's so
Um,
annoying hearing myself twice.
I know. Is it? I guess it's from your stack,
Am I
most
logged in
probably.
2 times?
Yes, you are logged
I
in
think
2 times,
so.
but the
Yeah.
second one is. Let me remove the second one.
Hmm?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
let me log
removing
out
the
of one.
second one.
There we go. There we go.
That
Okay,
was
can you
it?
hear me? That
Yeah.
was it. That was it. So since our last conversation, I have been doing a lot of research on my own
Mm-hmm.
to try and figure out how this really works because as you know, I'm very interested in it. And what I found out was a couple of things. So first of all, there are different types of, we'll call it the brain, right? There's environments that you put your AI into, and then the brain that you would use to to build it, and then the different apps or different I don't know, different resources that you would connect in order for these things to work, right? Um, so I had bought the computer because one of the things that my brother, who is very much into this type of thing, had suggested that I do was get a computer that was solely the whole purpose of it was for AI, nothing more, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said, don't use your computer that you use with all of your information on it that's downloaded on it because it'll have access to that. I
Mm-hmm.
see your face with that with about that information. How are you feeling about that?
It already.
What's your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting point here. Yeah, I first of all, most of our information are already available to AI in terms of because we have social media and they have access. The thing is about the critical information like passwords, these key security things, right? Now, it always how do you give access to this stuff. The only AI agent thing that is launched so far that is it has incredible um, freedom or asking for access to multiple things in our local machines is OpenClaw so far.
Mhm.
Okay, so for people who are not familiar in guiding these tools because you just talk to them, maybe it's a little bit risky of having them in your local machine.
Mhm.
I found OpenClaw is not running very well in my local machine, so I deployed in a server on
Yeah.
DigitalOcean. This is the server. This is the
Mhm.
service. So it lives there, and I manage where it has access only from the documents I track from the machine.
Right.
So it doesn't have access to my computer. I didn't have to buy a new computer. So I'm done with that. Now I'm working a lot with Claude, building AI agents locally, my own agents, or configuring new agents in my computer. Yeah,
So
we have just to check the security part first.
yeah, and I think because I'm so unfamiliar with a lot that's going on in terms of the AI, this is still very experimental for me. I think that's the reason why he made the decision. He told me to make that decision, and I thought it was a good idea because I just don't know enough, right,
Yeah.
about how it operates. And like you said, you're the one giving it direction, right?
Mm,
But I mean, we just found out that Claude got hacked because their direction caused this AI to release
mm,
very important
mhm.
information. So I thought, okay, that's a good point. And so I went ahead and got like just a regular little computer refurbished for $50.
Refurbished. Yeah,
Yeah,
the cheapest thing you can find.
yeah,
Doesn't matter.
yeah. So
All of
I
its resources will be for one thing, nothing else
for
in
one
the
thing,
parallel, so it's fine.
nothing else.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, yeah, I can do that. I did also do some research and found out about OpenClaw, right? It's open. It was something another claw, and now it's OpenClaw because it's been
Yeah.
bought by OpenAI. So I found out about that. I also found out about Hermes, and the local environment that I would use will be Olama, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to download Olama on the computer. And if I can just explain this, just in case everybody is not clear on what Olama is, and I'm sure Joe probably, David probably, but no, okay. So Olama, now one of the things that for me is very important is making sure that this is cost effective as possible, right? Because for of certain circumstances just won't allow me to go ahead and splurge on finances right now. So so I started digging, and one of the things that I found which makes it more cost effective is putting it on your local computer. So hence when Demetrius was saying that he does a lot of his things on local and then he's got a server, Olama will allow for you to do it locally, right? So you download this environment on your computer, and then you would use Claude or open source or OpenAI or Hermes as your brain, right? To actually start using the tools that you would use to create your AI. Am I right so far?
One tiny thing here to mention.
Mhm.
The you're using Olama as, let's say, the box as an environment to run the
Right.
processes, and the Claude, OpenAI, or any other thing you may assign in this, it is not the brain, it is just the LLM. It is the AI thing that puts intelligence in that. The brain stuff about the knowledge and the information, the guidelines you have to apply, is something we built in multiple different ways, right?
Mhm.
While we're using it. And so, for example, right now, I would love really to hear David's opinion and experience on building the guidelines and the knowledge for your AI agents when you're using them, if you are using them in your development.
Thank you. Uh, I started working on this app about 16 months ago, and I'm just wrapping up getting it onto Apple as we speak. So, I mean, it's exciting.
Congrats.
You know, it's if I can develop any kind of a revenue stream, it's for retirement for me. Hey, wonderful. Um, but I started out with ChatGPT, and I had a lot of problems in large part because I was working on a website, the Claude website, and copying and pasting between Visual Studio. And that was very inefficient, but it was all I knew to do. I started working with Ray and found out about Claude and how to put Claude actually inside of uh, Virtual Studio, or what's
VS
it called?
Code.
Yeah,
VS
VS.
Code. Hmm.
Yeah. And my whole world changed immediately. But as far as setting up protocols, I had to do that explicitly. And what I had to do was effectively create documents that defined what I was doing, who I was defining this product for. Now it's for seniors that have cognitive decline or dementia. And so these are neurodivergent individuals who have ADHD or dementia, Alzheimer's, all kinds of problems.
Wow.
And so things like the size of the text, the contrast, putting all the buttons and no text so that there's a visual target to tap your fingers on. these were all defined as I was starting, so that there was no mistake on how to build the interface. And what I discovered is it's really, really important to remind the agent, as I had to go from agent to agent to agent, especially in ChatGPT, to carry forward this protocol. And that became a real problem. And so what I ended up doing initially was to, at the end of each session, I would ask the agent to draft a handoff document to the next agent to inform the next agent where I was in the project and what needed to be done. And that went on for close to a year. That was the way I worked. When I got Claude in Visual Studio, it was a whole different operation, because Claude had access to everything, including these documents that would define what I wanted to do. I still have problems, or had problems, with ChatGPT, especially uploading my app into the Apple server, test flight. And that's a very tricky process, and Apple's very strict in the way it does, and it's dealing with Xcode. And I don't know if anybody here is familiar with Xcode, but it's a real pain in the ass, because there are all these things that need to align before you can even upload. So I had to develop a document explicitly for step by step how to upload, so that regardless of what agent I got, there was a protocol in place on how to upload my new repo from Git into TestFlight. And even ChatGPT seems to just want to invent stuff or wing it, or I just had no tolerance after a while. I just said, fuck this. So I got Claude Code on my Mac, and it's been wonderful ever since. Claude Code knows what to do. Has access to my files, and it has access to the computer, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. But I think Claude Code and ChatGPT are both mindful of what I am building, and actually support what I'm doing, and have been able to reflect back to me that what I'm doing is valuable and worthwhile, and they are effectively on board, if you will. They're not adversarial in any way. They're not neutral. They're actually supporting me. And I know that ChatGPT is known for being, woohoo, David, you're great. You're great. But, that's not what I'm really looking for. I'm looking for a critical mind sometimes. And as Ray Deck has pointed out, you can tell agents how to behave towards you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And not only that, but they also reflect you back to yourself. So if you're a butthole, they'll be a butthole. They'll be arrogant, and they'll not cooperate. And your options at that point is, well, I'm going to move on to the next agent. And I've done that more than a few times. Maybe that's because I'm an asshole. I don't know. But only occasionally. Let me put it that way. Am I an asshole? But when I see agents not following protocol, I have to put my manager's hat on and say, that's not the right way to do this. And you cannot, as a developer, as a founder, you still have to be a manager. These are robots but they are semi-intelligent robots, and you have to give them direction and call them to task when they're not doing their jobs properly. So that's been my process, and it's taken me a while to get to it, but I feel like it's serving me pretty well now. But it's been a process to learn personal growth, how to be a better, kinder person, how to be a better manager. I'm always pleased and thank you. You did a great job. Praise to a robot is still praise. And I think they still respond to that input. At least that has been my experience. And I don't know if Joe or Nicole has, or Dimitri, you've experienced that as well, but that's been my experience.
Yeah. From my experience, guys, I saw that AI agents are like a new employee in the company. Okay. Now, when someone joins your company, first of all, you have to give him the rules to engage with the team. This AI agent, it's quite easy to understand the culture. So you don't have cultural things and all of these, soft things to deal with it. But in terms of intelligence, first of all, I think it's up to you what is the freedom you give it. And the second important thing is how do you manage the way it's making decisions? And the third point is what is the machine that runs this agent? So it's about the LLM. If I'm bringing that down from the simplest to the hardest, at the moment of this event, running it, I see anthropic models are way better than OpenAI models. Okay. After Anthropic, I really appreciate how very fast and value for money are the Gemini models. All right. So the Flash, for example, I really like Flash. It's doing pretty good job to me. And it's way cheaper than Anthropics. So
What is it called? Flash?
a flashlight, and I'm using flashlight, but you can use the Flash. It's the main model from Gemini. Nicole, in general, the Gemini models from Google, these are pretty good.
Okay.
Now, regarding the one step harder, how it has to make decisions and how it understands what is its scope. The risk you, David, and you, Nicole, mentioned so far are way harder for Joe because he's building the software using the AI agent. And if the agent get confused and break the security protection or make any other kind of breaks, at the same time the software starts crashing. Okay, which is a critical point. He is in greater risk, so he has to protect himself. So he has to be there doing babysitting. Yeah, David.
Yeah, I had an experience with Cursor where I tried to use Cursor and I was using ones and zeros for true and false, and Cursor decided, oh, I'll just use true and false instead of ones and zeros, and set up the conditional structures with true and false, and really fucked up half of my site that probably took 2 days to put back together again. And that was probably partly my fault because I didn't commit it to Git, but that's how fast things can go south if you don't set boundaries. And it was a real pain in the ass. And I just said, Cursor, I'm not doing that. And maybe that was a mistake. Maybe it wasn't a mistake. But, things can go south quickly if you don't manage the agents.
Well, um, from my experience, guys, what I did, because when I get started playing with agents and building stuff, I had exactly the same experiences. I didn't know the best practices, at least for the part of security. And when we build a new software, a new project, let's say locally, by default, AI has to create the environment .env env file where we store all the API keys, all the critical points, everything about security is right there. Okay, now if we push it on GitHub, ideally this file shouldn't be pushed, right? So I knew that working locally, I was secured, but when I decided to go in public, I didn't know all these best practices and many things. I didn't know them. And what I did was, hey, I want to go in public. I want to upload on Git. I want you to give me a security audit. What it must be uploaded, how it has to be uploaded, blah, blah, blah. And I got 2-3 messages conversation with Claude, because in general I'm using only Claude, asking it to do the job, the hard job for me. It's not only the hard job, it is hard to me, because I didn't have great experience to find the critical points and the risky points for me. Okay, let's take the advantage of AI. It has the knowledge for that. So it used the settings and it worked. And it works till now every single day. Now, I'm pushing the conversation mostly about how it makes decisions and figured out what it has to decide. I find very useful for agents, guys, to give it the memory file, and I will explain what it is, and the soul file. Now, the AI agents have sub files. They're using it to run into the process. All of those files are markdown files. Also, the skill files are markdown files. But here's the thing, with the memory file, what we save in there is things we want agent to remember while he's working on. So what was described previously from Joe about, I don't want you to do this, I don't want you to do this, I don't want you to do this, all of those musts and must not to do has to live there in this file. And it's, how do we create it? We just ask AI to create it. Hey, I want you to build a memory file. Here are my rules. Bring them inside in the right way for your better understanding. Now let's go into the soul. The soul is about how AI has to think using the memory while it runs the skills. So we specify that soul, like how it has to make decisions. And again, even if we put most of our effort in pushing those files into perfection, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that we have to stay away of our, soul. Soul.md file, David. Even if we push it into perfection, those files, again, we have to be on the desk watching what it is doing, how it is making decisions, and what exactly it is doing.
Thank you.
These things give us, I would say, 10 times better experience with working with AI agents, more targeted, more structured. If we want to keep self-improved the agent, we can put a feature to update the memory. or even the soul. Okay, and that works pretty well. And from my experience this week, I had to replace the way my AI agents are working on brain graph. I have a bunch of AI agents. A few of them are responsible to recognize similarities across of our data, business opportunities, content ideas, just from our conversations, from our transcripts, right? And one other has to review for trends, what seems to be a trend, more people trying to use Claude Code, for example. So I wanted to grab this information. So the agents were working mostly like API calls on Claude. Now I gave them those soul, memory structure, all of those tiny things, and the skill files. The first experience is that from the first round of testing, I consume way less tokens, so they are more cost efficient. Because this is the agents are using API by default. If I'm running them locally, by default, I'm using them inside my Claude subscription, so I don't pay extra money for using them, right? But for the service, I had to pay for API. The second realization was that they are way faster. And the third is that they are way more intelligent about how they have to look around and find the right information.
And this is when you say they are more intelligent based off of the memory and the soul that you've added? Is that why
Yeah.
they're okay?
Yeah, that's right. For example, what information do I add into the memory? In memory, I save automatically the structure of the database schema. What kind of information do we have for Nicole as a user? Not what information do we have, what kind of information do we have? We know for Nicole that she's in a company. We know that she runs a business, she's working in these domains, these kind of things, and what type of information. Mostly about the schema and why the agent, in my case, needs the schema. Because when an AI agent is running, he is responsible to go and find answers to user questions. So it has to know how the information is structured in terms of architecture of information. So it knows queries more efficiently. Previously, I had to run 3 to 5 queries to the entire graph database, check the data, merge them, deduplicate them, recognize what is the most relative one based on a scoring into semantic score I was running. And then from those 50 records, select those 2 guys that actually can give us the answer. Yeah, but all of this process was token consuming and time consuming, which is even more important for my case.
Question for you in terms of prompting. Like why do you just talk to them like you would like a regular person? Or is there prompts that you have to put in? And if there are prompts, how do you find those prompts? Like how do you figure that out?
Are you talking about the prompts for the agent or for the memory and the soul?
Both?
Right. Step number 1, we use Claude Code. Okay? And I ask Claude Code, hey, this is what I want to build. This is how I want to be the soul thing. This is how I want to be the memory thing. Go and build them in a way that when you run it, you can use it effectively. So I put the responsibility of building it to Claude.
But now Claude Code is an additional cost, right? I think Claude Code
No,
is like $200 for the
no, no,
year.
no, 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 no. It's
Okay,
in your subscription into Claude. So if you are in a paid subscription, or maybe it's on free also, but if you are on the the cheaper plan, which is I think $20 a month, if I remember well, or 17, something like that,
20
you have access into Claude Code by I'm pretty sure for
by
that.
default. So Claude Code is what accesses your computer, right?
Claude Code is this feature inside Claude
Hmm.
that can build stuff either in your on your GitHub immediately, either locally in your computer.
Hmm.
But it builds code. This uses things to build code.
You could use it
Dimitri,
different ways depending on what your need is there. So personally, I use it locally on my terminal. So I speak with a terminal on my Mac, and it when you first install it and go to sign in, it'll ask you how you want to use it with an existing subscription, or do you want to use Claude API. So Nicole, it sounds like you're going to want to go down like the subscription path there, and that's the same way I do it as well. And I think just the different plans come with different amounts of token allocation to you in a certain like 5 to whatever hour window there. But yeah.
And the token, the API versus the subscription, I'm just, like I said, cost effectiveness is very important to me. So I'm just going to do my research, I guess, to figure out which one would be more cost effective. Because to me, API would seem to be more cost effective because you use it only when you use the tokens only when you are doing something. But then the subscription, I don't know.
It's
Personally, I
exactly what
found it
we
a
do.
little it's interesting to learn what is best for your use case. So my business, we use both. So when I'm writing software, I'm going through the subscription because I mean, I usually fill that entire window. I mean, we're writing code all day, right? And
Right.
then the system that we have for like managing our projects, we also use Claude to help like clean up ticket descriptions and make them like ensure they have every bit of information we're going to need to actually execute a ticket. That speaks through the API using tokens. But we have that limited to like a specific model, so it's very cost effective to us. And just for context there, I mean, we can put $5 into the account and it lasts a month, So
This is what I'm talking about.
yeah,
Mm. Yeah.
Joe,
Okay,
That
that's
Joe, we
that's
probably
that's
need to talk offline here because you sound like you're going to be one of my resources that I'm going to need to tap into.
yeah, we could definitely connect for sure.
Thank you.
I
Absolutely.
obviously I have a lot to learn too, and this is very informative to me, Joe.
Yeah.
And Dimitri, I'm fascinated with how you structure your memory and your soul.
So
And I have never, I mean, I'm going to have to ask Claude about this. And, it's scary giving a machine a soul, but
well,
don't mind my grandpa humor. I mean,
no, it's right. It's weird, definitely. Actually, soul is not necessary for development part. I'm pretty sure even Joe doesn't need it. When we use the soul, I needed the soul because on my practice on Brain Graph, the AI agents are responsible to give a response, human written, to people. So I wanted the agent to read all this raw text, create a summary, and humanize it in a direction I want it to be.
mm,
I had that need of answering like a human in that direction. So this guy had to be handful for David, handful for Joe, Nicole, Dimitris. Now, in development things, we definitely don't need the soul file. Definitely. You just want the memory thing to refresh the memory and let it running. And
So
that's helpful. Sorry, Nicole, I'm calling
that's
that.
fine.
Um, if you have the memory about what you're building, what you're doing, what is going on inside the directory where the agent is going to go and build stuff and do work for you, it's helpful to start running inside the VS Code, the Virtual Studio, multiple different tabs running at the same time and checking how they have to work into the same project. Because
Can you
in memory, it knows about your project. Yeah,
So
Nicole?
you're saying, Dimitri, I think what you're saying is that there's one memory for your project or one repository of your project, whether it's Git or on your virtual studio. But you can have multiple agents dealing with different aspects of what you're
utilize it?
doing. Now, I'd never really considered that just because I'm a senior guy and I'm pretty linear and I don't have the bandwidth to manage 2 or 3 individuals. It's a lot for me. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm just working with one guy because that's about as much as I can handle, plus my wife. So uh, that's it. My
Makes
plate
Two
is
sense.
handfuls,
full.
right?
What is it? What is that, Nicole?
I said they're two handfuls, right? One hand and
Yeah,
the other hand. You ain't got no more hands.
yeah. I mean, I love both of them. Believe me, they've been wonderful. But it's a very full life for me right now. I'll say that.
Well,
So,
yeah,
D-
yes, go.
Demetrius, can I ask a question in regards to the VS? What is a virtual service? Is that what you called it?
Virtual
Virtual
Studio.
Studio.
Virtual
Virtual
Studio.
Studio. It is this application software you download in your computer, and you manage the software, your projects you're building locally.
So you could use it to write code. It's like, I mean, you could
Yeah.
use a regular text editor to write code, or you could use something like that, which is just like an IDE that it has a lot more tools built in. So you'll have like syntax highlighting and all that kind of stuff. However, you can also use Claude code within that application. And then that way, if you can watch it write the code, that the files are populated, it gets creating those files. And you can go in there and edit those files yourself too, and work with Claude if you wanted to. Not that I think, that's really necessary now, but
Nicole, Joe used a acronym IDE, and Joe, you want to explain that?
yeah, maybe Dimitri could actually get the full breakdown of that one, because that, to me, I don't, what does it stand for, Dimitri? Do you know?
Yeah. IDEs is the interface where we use it to build the code traditionally. Let me, because I don't remember exactly
Stands
what.
for Integrated Development Environment. Yeah,
Yes.
which makes sense. So yeah, so it's basically it. There's a bunch of different ones. There's ones that live in web terminals too, but essentially it's just like a development environment, if you could think about it that way. Same as like Word, Microsoft Word, or Google Docs, or like a word processor where you create documents.
Hmm.
These are the same, but they're just programs, different programs that you would use to create web code or application code, or any type of code you or any type of application you're building that you need to write code for. That's like the proper place to do it.
So let me ask you
Now,
this question.
Hmm?
I'm trying. I'm getting ready to set up my AI agent, and I can't clearly visualize what that's going to look like. All I know so far is I've got Olama that I need to download on my computer, and then I have there's three different um what do you call those? I call it the brain. What did you call it, Demetrius? The
The
Claude,
LLM?
Hermes, and the LLMs. So there's Claude, there's Hermes, and there's OpenClaw. So those are the three. right, that I understand I should download onto Olama and utilize them. And I understand that each of them do different things, right? But that's where I end. After that, I'm like, okay, so now what do I do with these things? How do I utilize them? How
Well,
do I set
I,
them up? Where do I set them up? What does that look like?
good question. When I first started out with this, I knew what a database was, but I didn't know which one to use. And I had Android Studio for building apps for Google, and I had Visual Studio, which is also used for Android, but also is used for Apple devices. And I had the option of going with React, which is a computer language, or Flutter, and Dart, which is a different computer language. And my interest was to work in both platforms. And I had to figure out with ChatGPT which way to go. And what ended up defining the language that I was going to do was what database I could use inside of a phone app. And Flutter happened to be the easier one for me to work with. And since my app was really data driven, I really needed to work with Flutter as opposed to React, which was, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I had to pick one. And Flutter worked with both Google and Android and also with Apple. So I ended up working with Flutter. But, ChatGPT and all of these AIs can pretty much write in whatever language you want. And Dimitri knows they can write in Greek as well. So it doesn't really matter as far as what they do or how they do it. But, you have to pick one and probably just go with that and write a simple program. What are you trying to do? And ask for some guidance and let Claude or ChatGPT or whatever AI agent you want to use help you make that decision.
Okay.
Let me share for a minute my screen. I think that would be valuable.
Okay.
I'm using Claude inside my VS Code. This is how the VS Code thing looks like, right?
Okay.
So here are different documents in the same directory. This is actually a folder. If I open my folders, I see these as one package, one folder, all right? Previously mentioned that the usage of Claude code in the desktop app and the Claude code inside the VS Code. I think that's a nice opportunity to mention that, guys, Claude code inside VS Code runs faster. It's more convenient, I think. And when Claude is off in VS Code, it may works. Because last week we had the problems for 2 days when Claude was totally off and we couldn't use Claude for 2 days. But inside VS Code, it was running very well. So just let you know, I would totally recommend to use in your subscription. So you have the freedom of tokens inside here. And what I built, and that's just to show you how it will look like the agent. I started from an empty folder, getting into the chat with Claude, asking to build something that solves me a problem. So I had to give it the problem and how the solution a great solution looks like for me. Okay? And what this guy is doing, he accepts, when it starts the conversation, he can accept the video transcript. The problem it is responsible to solve is give me all the elements to publish, all the elements I need to publish my videos on YouTube. So I just give the transcript and it comes back with a couple of thumbnail prompt. So I use the prompt immediately to generate the thumbnail. I don't spend time on that. I have the title. I have the description based on my practices and how I want it to look like. So it delivers me these tiny things. And here is how he has to think about. All of those are markdown files. Now,
Markdown files?
yeah, MD files. This is a type of a file you need.
Oh,
This is important. Everything has to be in a markdown file, otherwise it's hard for AI to read and understand it. Then the next step for the agent is to convert this video into a blog post. So it automates all of this process for me.
question
Now,
for you.
yeah, sure.
When you these files, you
Mhm.
mentioned skills. Would these
Yeah,
be considered skills?
yeah. Skills are those files that are SOPs, standard operational procedures. These files are actually the tools for the agent, not the tools, is the direction in completing the task. It's not the tool, because tool is the access in a different application. So we create the skill files for the agent so the agent knows how to complete the task for us. And all of those files created from AI. I didn't even get into them to read them. I just was asking it, give me questions. Now, how I run it locally with AI. So if I start a new chat on Claude, you see, it's gonna run inside here. I will ask it, I don't have a transcript right now, but I had to give, here is the transcript, run your job, do your job, and start delivering my results. Here
Hmm.
are an example of the final outcome
Isn't
where
this
it is.
amazing? Look at this go.
He has
So,
to do the audits for SEO, GEO, content value, structure, conclude with call to actions and brand as I wanted to do. There is an auditing process here inside. I don't know how effective it is yet, but it took me just an hour of work. And I
so
was just
Demetrius,
talking. Yeah.
do you mind if I ask what this case study is for? Like, what is this for?
Yeah, so I wanted to start creating blog posts, and
Yeah.
I wanted to make easier for me to upload videos on YouTube because it was so time consuming to me. I had so
Okay.
much time consuming. So that was the two problems. Firstly, solve the problem with YouTube, and then the YouTube to blog post in here. Spend 1 hour of work. Maybe it took me a little bit more for fine tunings, guideline. And this is what this guy is doing. Now, what I'm showing you that, guys, is that I wanted to answer you, Nicole, how the agent looks like. What's the face of this thing? Just a structured directories with files, directions, and things. This guy doesn't have a memory because it has multiple different skills covering the thing about what my memory would do.
Oh, so I see your MD file, and then I see
Mhm.
your scale file. They're two separates.
No, this is a
One's the
subfolder.
memory.
These are
Oh,
commands
okay.
to run the
Okay.
command from here, like YouTube. Yeah, here it is. YouTube M, YouTube OH, YouTube S. These are different commands based on the purpose of the video, what type of video it is. YouTube Masterminds, YouTube Office Hours, and YouTube Shorts.
Okay. This
Because
was this was created by you or by the AI?
I guided AI what I wanted to do and how it had to work, and Claude built them.
Look
So
at
you
that.
don't have to worry how these will be developed.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
I
So
can say it's handful.
what's mind blowing for me, or actually what's scary, is not being able to give it the right information to get what it is that I need. Right. And that's why I keep on asking about prompts and stuff, because I'm like, I know what I want, right? But am I going to give it the enough information for it to, am I going to delegate enough information for it to give me what it is that I want?
It'll
The
ask,
whole,
it'll ask you for more information if it
yeah,
needs it.
yeah.
Okay.
Just tell it to ask you if something is missing. What
Okay.
Yeah.
else would you like to know for the project, for me, to put even better approach or even better value? And again, guys, perfection is an enemy. It's not a friend. Just get started. Even if you start building with a crappy result, you have something better than zero. So, okay.
Yeah, I
That's my
usually
approach.
end my prompts with something like, I think we ought to do this in the UI, and I think we need to have these uh, spread out a little bit more or more compact. What do you think? Which invites uh, Claude to participate in the conversation before he starts coding. And that way it initiates a dialogue where I can bounce maybe my flawed ideas against his larger knowledge and broader experience. And I found that that strategy works really well, at least for me.
Yeah. Has anybody utilized Hermes or Claude AI? Just so you've just been in Claude.
Yeah, I am just basically, guys, I'm only on Claude and I'm using Gemini on API.
Okay.
Great. Guys, I would love to thank you for attending the event. It was a pleasure and very handful conversation, honestly. Hope that was helpful for you too, with new learnings. And I want to say that for the next week, because we celebrate Easter here in Greece, I will not run the events, but we definitely gonna meet the week after. And for the time in between, feel free to reach out with any kind of question in your practice. I would love to talk. I have almost daily conversation with David, and I really appreciate it. Making progress on replay. David, congrats for the launch on Apple. We have to do some
Congrats.
videos.
Congrats. Demetrius, I wanted to let you know I'm finished. I'm finished my platform. So thank you so
Really
much. Yes, I got all of my
lovely.
scenarios done, and I'm now just testing. But yeah, I'm done.
Perfect. Let me know your results from testing, and for any trouble, I'm very glad to be handful.
Thank you.
Honestly.
Thank you.